This man knows what he's doing, as do all men, because we know as women, pee guys, pee. Diabolical. Something is just, it short circuits in our brains, and there are just parts of our brains that we cannot access. Hagunali in the middle center. Ipipi. And looking lovingly in each other's eyes. Go le monate, ke di giggles, ke di flirtations, ke di eyelashing, stolen glances. But clearly, the things between two people, we mustn't always just ask questions, guys. Don't ask questions sometimes. Question, Tammy. Really? I'm not going to say a lot, but what I will say is that Tammy's Christianity seems awfully conveniently selective. But okay. But yes, Zitobile, really. Because in all of the ways that matter, this person is telling you what you are here for as a wife, which is cooking and birthing children. That's it. Guys, Sebenzile just seems to be just the central point of very good looking men. Where are they? So we can go. Because if it's not his father, it's this fine ass friend with wisdom, Ibileng, which is just. And so when you're talking about changing her out with a newer, more fertile model 2 months in, I feel a kind of way about that. I'm not going to lie. Even for TV. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Rakhadi's Views with me, Rakhadi Watsona. Welcome to the channel, and to anybody who's new, welcome to the fam. For the old ones, guys, let's just get strapped in for Married at First Sight, episode 11. And I want to get ready to the red lips. I'm in the mood today because I watched it. I'm not going to lie. And I was just like, I'm bored, but let's celebrate, guys, that we are on episode 11, which means this is the penultimate episode to this season because it has been thrilling and interesting and frustrating, but it's been a long road. Okay, I'm tired. Looking at these people's faces, hearing some of the same old drama, anyway, we're here for episode 11, so please do what you're doing, put that Bluetooth on, carry on with your errands. If you're in the car, hey, drive safely, and let's get into episode 11. So we start off this episode with Zitobile and Tammy, and they are in their apartment. Zitobile comes in while Tammy's marking some papers so that he can show us he's a teacher for real. But question, I don't know if he's teaching in Dubai. I don't know which exams from where, or there's tests that he's making with a red pen. For students from where, Badi Rumela Kapo, so Dubai also technology. So wouldn't people be completing and submitting tests online? Just a question. I don't know. Maybe he's locoming at a local school for the purposes of this, but I was very confused when I saw him marking actual papers with a red pen. I don't know. On his flight, papers for which students where. But let me not digress. Anyways, Toby is like, no, she's going to make them a quick little snack. And while she's cooking, Tammy then obviously chooses this moment to, critique her cooking, which valid, for him, he said, he doesn't like these fatty foods, essentially. And he's not a fan of eating processed food. So she was making burgers. She's like, no, but I'm doing something light because we're going out for dinner. And he was just like, yeah, but all of this, if you just hear the oil going ta 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 on the stove, he's not about that life. Listen, that's good feedback, I suppose, if you're planning to live with somebody so that they know what I do and do not like. I just don't think that was the time while she was doing this act of service for you, which is cooking for your ass because you were sitting at the table and it didn't look like you were about to be cooking for anybody. So while she's doing you the favor, maybe is not the time to be criticizing how she's doing it. But anyway, they start to talk about, hey, what's happening with Kuzo and D? Where's the relationship now? And Tammy, what I will give him though is that he did make some good points, which was he said that, like, D talks too much. Tammy, blunt. It's not just Tobile who catches his tongue. Everybody, we get razor blades with Tammy's tongue. Tammy's tongue. Maybe that should be like, the ninth member of contestants for this show is Tammy and his tongue. Because, woo! Slicers, bitch. Anyway, Tammy's like, no, D talks too much, and she always wants to be listened to, but she doesn't listen to Ukuzo, and it's evident when he's in a group setting, that that's the time that he can finally speak and express himself because he doesn't have that chance. And Zitobile was like, okay, yeah, from her side, she also just says that, the issue that she sees is that Kuzo also bottles a lot of the stuff in, and that leads to these perhaps altercations of not dealing with things in the moment. And Tobile says, that's what they were advised to do by the therapist, and that's helped them a lot. That at the point of having an issue, at the point of conflict, just try and resolve it there and then. Anyway, it was a fluffy scene. Then we move on to the evening. So everybody's been sent out on a date for the evening individually as couples. And we see Kuzo and D who are there. And like, I've got a bit of whiplash because they were there, they were sitting, looking lovingly in each other's eyes. Gole monate, ke di giggles, ke di flirtations, ke di eyelashing, stolen glances. And I was like, when did this happen? Because we saw y'all breaking down there at therapy with detailing us all the ways that Kuto was offending her during the people. But clearly, the things between two people, we mustn't always just ask questions, guys. Don't ask questions sometimes because here they were, holy happy family, holy monate. It was a sexy date out for the two of them. Even Kuzo was referring to himself as, what is it, a dark chocolate. And then, D was like, yeah, you're a tall glass of water and I'm thirsty. And Kuzo was like, very thirsty. Kare! This band age of sex that she was accusing him of weaponizing when they were fighting, this man knows what he's doing, as do all men, because we know as women, pee guys, pee. Diabolical. Something is just, it short circuits in our brains, and they are just parts of our brains that we cannot access. Hagonali in the middle center. Ipi. And here she was. It was the bandage that he knew that she needed. It's gonna shut her up, and we can just turn the page and carry on with our lives because hee ha ha, giggle, D was having the time of her life. Okay, flirting with her man. Dark chocolate, wahai. Okay, do the things. Then we also see Sebenzile and Buitsepo go to dinner. Honestly, skipping it. Nothing happens. Bored with those two. Then Tammy and Zitomila are also sitting at dinner. So Tabang and Makumo are not at these dinners because of Makumo's work schedule, which once again has got in the way of filming. And so they are not part of this exercise, which is very unfortunate. And just for production, guys, next season, Kopaleska Foster to put participants in the show who cannot actually fully participate because this was annoying for me as a watcher. I can't even imagine from Tabang's side what is the annoyance. And listen, I'm not hating on her. It's her job. She has this irregular schedule, but it's not working for film production. It's really not working because there are a lot of things that they missed out on. Anyway, Tammy and Zitomila are sitting, they're having dinner, they're in a good place, we are laughing, everybody's looking beautiful. Tammy says that, he really loves her family. and he saw that they love her a lot, and that's something that for him has become very attractive. Zitobile is like, no, they're getting along, things are good, we're in a happy place. And so they're talking about, when Zitobile comes to visit, because Tammy is going to get a place locally in Johannesburg. So Zitobile, I think, works in Randfontein. That's what we got in the last episode. So in order for them to see each other, it's going to have to be on weekends. So she's going to drive from Randfontein to Joburg somewhere, Ekasi, where Tammy, there's a family home or something. I don't know if it's his home. And they're just discussing, types of activities and things that they're going to do. And Tammy, in all of his twisted patriarchal thinking, tells her that when she comes over, she must cook for the grannies because they're gonna love that. And Zitobile was just like, bruh, really? But yes, Zitobile, really. Because in all of the ways that matter, this person is telling you what you are here for as a wife, which is cooking and birthing children. That's it. So they all received some boxes from the producers, and it's basically got pictures from the day that they've met, the wedding day, up to the journey thus far. There's vows in there, they read the vows, and it's so beautiful. Memory lane. Midnight, not a sound from the pavement, and the moon lost her memory. Oh, guys, we're talking. Maybe let me not start bringing jingles into these reviews. But anyway, it's memory lane. People are getting emotional. I'm really not going to get into it that deeply. Dee said her comment was that she was happy to see the pictures because it reminded her that the journey overall for the both of them has been a positive one for her. There's a couple of sex games in there. Then Tammy makes the comment that, these games are not aligned with what's in the Bible. Question, Tammy. Really? I'm not going to say a lot, but what I will say is that Tammy's Christianity seems awfully conveniently selective. But okay. For him, he then says that, he likes to talk about sex. It's important. Sex is the backbone of a marriage. And Uzitobile doesn't want to talk about sex. Then Zitobile, and I'm happy. She's like, Yazin, now I told you, now I want spontaneous things. Yeah? When I was like, let's trough there in the car, you said no. I said, let's trough in the kitchen. You said no. And then Tammy was just like, but like, how am I supposed to, in the kitchen, what are we going to bambelela on? Yay, booty. Yay. Yes. This is where I can see that, like, Tammy, you're a talker. You are not a doer. You are not a doer. Those who do the things that need to be done, we bambelela on anything. We don't, babes. Yes, let me not get into it. But like, push comes to shove. Literally. Any surface, whether it's vertical or horizontal, will do. Okay. So Zitobile, I'm glad that you exposed to Tammy. Tammy's busy talking about sex all the time. Great. Maybe you are. But when it comes to the doing, my brother, nkarmo wa shota. Uya shota. And Zitobile, good for you. Get you some spontaneous things, my friend. Get it in. So yeah, they read the vows, everybody's happy, we move on. Then the couples also receive a letter now that, they thought, so what was supposed to happen was that everybody was now going either their separate ways or finding a place together, figuring out how they're going to do life back in the real world, right? Post the apartments. So they get a letter, and production is now saying, oh, we actually have decided that we're going to offer each couple a shared accommodation space, right? For the next 3 weeks. So for those who prefer to move in together, here's a place. We found it. We don't actually ever see these spaces on the inside, or are they fully finished, or do they just stay on in the apartment? But I think essentially, I don't know where this decision came from, because I don't know, it seemed a bit last minute. Or was it just like, yeah, Zine, guys, it's actually just going to be easier and cheaper for us to film everybody in one location. So let's just get them this accommodation together. Or probably actually, as tenuous as a lot of these relationships are, if we give them a chance to go back into the real world after 8 weeks, we won't have anything to film come recommitment and reunion day. We don't know, but these are the decisions that they made. So fine. All three couples they take up that option of the shared accommodation, except for D and Kuzo. And I think this was obviously because they have children, and they probably need to get back to their parenting lives. So then we have a special scene with Tabang and Kumo because they weren't present for some of the dinner scene and the vows and whatever. So Tabang and Kumo are packing up in their apartment, packing up their clothes. Um, it's a little bit of bickering here and there, but like this is the thing. This couple, I'm actually not going to get into it because I think it's just evident that like I don't know how seriously this is being taken. And maybe kitty hee hee ha ha, kitty popeye, kitty nice times. But there is something for me personally where Kumo is just completely feeling like disconnected, disassociated, just not here. And so it's difficult for me to see the scenes that they have together and feel like there are real things that are happening here. And then when these smolanyana little bickering arguments come up, I'm just like, I'm done already because you know, I don't know what these two people are doing here. As I said, for me, I think with Tabang, I do feel that he has tried and he has been willing to at least be open to the experiment and be open to this relationship and what it could be. But I think the lack of time, but I think also what is evident is Makumo's lack of openness, willingness, and presence. There's a serious lack of presence that even when she's there, it doesn't always seem like she's there. So, yeah, for me, there's just a misstep here that's not working out. Anyway, they go through their pictures and they get the same box, they reminisce. Um, they go through their vows and, Kuma says that, she's not really good with words and emotion and sentiment. So for her, it sort of, took a lot, or it was a good exercise for her, I think, to be in, but it was also seeming like it was taking a lot for her. One thing I will give to Makuma is high five for that insight and that awareness. What I would maybe like is that, take that in your life and explore deeper why are you not there, because it makes relating with others difficult, which I think is what is translating through the screen when I watch her as well. I don't know how you guys feel. Maybe you guys can tell me how you're feeling when Kumo is on screen. But it's just, as Ianla Van Zen said, neck down dead. Neck down dead. That's what I experience. And then hee hee ha ha humor on the face, but we're not really getting to real things a lot of the time. Maybe it's happening behind closed doors and we don't see it. But anyway, then she also speaks about how, basically Tabang was a slob around the house and she's had to actually do a lot of the domestic chores. And, she was like, I even saw you like with washing the other day and I was shocked because, I didn't know you could do that for yourself because Ben tried to get you to do it, waiting for you to do it. It was not happening. Tabang then says in his diary session that he actually intentionally stepped back from pulling his weight around the house because he wanted to see what her reaction was. And he even admits that in the whole time that they've been in that home, he's only done laundry once. That for me was just like, Tabang, Wabana, it's these childish games that you are playing also here that don't make sense. Because why are you testing to see what she's going to do when you're not pulling your weight around the house? I don't understand what the point of that is, where we are playing games For what? For why? Because, then you guys just got into a lot of bickering arguments for fucking nothing. Anyway, you know what? Immaturity on both sides here for me with this couple. It's a spectrum. One is a little bit immature, more immature than the other, but I don't know what's happening here. Anyway, they say that they're going to be happy to miss each other, and maybe they need some time apart. They're going to take a little 2 weeks nyana. Um, but then we find out that I don't think they did. So they took up the offer for the shared accommodation for those 3 weeks. Then we get to 3 weeks have passed, and this is the week before the commitment ceremony. So what the couples were asked to do is, after the 3 weeks of the shared accommodation, to then separate for a week and not live together and not see each other for a week, so that they can collect their thoughts and, I suppose, have some time to really think about the decision that they're going to make. So we see that Usebenzile is chilling with his friend, telling him that, like, it's almost time to pull the trigger, with making a decision. So the friend asks him, is he happy in his relationship? There was a very long pause that Sebenzile gave us. He never really answered that question. I'm realizing he paused, hesitated, and didn't answer the question. So the friend was like, no, but, like, relative to the other relationships, and the Sebenzile was like, no, it's too early, whatever. But the friend was like, no, but relative to your other relationships, by now, even if it's only 8 weeks, you should know. Then Sebenzile says, there is a bit of an issue that has come up, in terms of them finding an apartment. So Sebenzile and Boitsepo, even from last episode, were finding an apartment, were shopping around, and I think they found something, and so now it's time to furnish, and so they're looking for all the stuff. And Sebenzile is basically like, listen, Monday to Friday, I'm at my 9 to 5. On the weekend, I've got my weekend gigs. So I can't really be there for a lot of this shopping and choosing of things. So Boitsepo's taken the lead on that. And then her feedback was that he's not making time for her and he's not spending enough time with her, and she doesn't feel like he's giving her the attention. And then Sebenzile's friend, very, very nice friend, oh booty. Guys, Sebenzile just seems to be just the central point of very good looking men. Where are they? So we can go. Because if it's not his father, it's this fine ass friend with wisdom, Ibilang, which is just a unicorn in today's day and age. So we thank you for bringing your friend onto the screen, Sebenzile. Conversation here was not super important, but the friend did say one very important thing. The friend gave him feedback that, like, listen, at this point, you need to actually get to the point where you are making sacrifices and you are able to make sacrifices. Because he's like, you're already in it. There's no, I'm getting ready. I need to. There's no need to. You are in it. So basically, the friend gave him some very good advice, which was that you can't be so selfish with your time anymore. There's another person. You went and you said, I do. So sacrifice some things in your life so that you can meet the needs of your wife. Thank you, friend. We thank you for your wisdom. We thank you for gracing us with your presence on the TV screen. Thank you, Booty. And then Boitsepo meets with her friend, and she's just basically talking about, they've gotten the accommodation, but Boitsepo is all in at this point. I don't think she's going to say no. She's still committed and she's still going to see how things go. Then we have D and Kuto. And so Kuto is with his friend, and the friends come over to visit, and friends like, so what's happening? How are things going? And Kuto shares his concerns with the friend that, number one, co-parenting is going very rough here. It's rough seas for the co-parenting. And so he's got a lot to think through. And also the fact that, it's become evident that him and Dee are two different personalities. And, she is more extroverted and outspoken and louder than he is when she communicates. And so he's got a lot of things to think about because compatibility, honale question mark for him. D is then talking to one of her organogram friends, um, who is then asking her, how are things going? Have you made the decision? It's evident from the conversation that D as well is going to probably say yes and that she is committed because she starts speaking about how disappointed she's going to be if Kuzo says no because Kuzo has now met her son. Her son is calling Kuzo second daddy already. And even the friend was like, I mean, what's going to happen if you guys don't go forward and your son knows daddy number two is daddy number two? Like, it's a lot. But D says she's got a therapy session booked and ready and waiting for the day after this recommitment filming takes place. So, una le support, and that's where she's going. Then we have Tammy and Zitobile. And, Tammy speaking to his friend who's also asking, how are things going? Tammy expresses to him that, like, listen, I've been wanting to get married for a very long time. But Tammy can admit that like their ideologies are not the same, him and Zitobile, and there's areas where they really just are not aligned and they do clash. And he says, I wanted something different, and she also wanted something different, and neither of us are what the other wanted. So we're basically having to make the best out of a bad situation, i.e., out of producers producing a television show. So Tammy then speaks to his friend about, one of the other issues is this fertility situation where he really wants to have children, but Uzitobile, has got some challenges in that area. And Tammy's like her family was even asking him about, Istembu because they know that he comes from a polygamous family. And, Zitobile is not about that life. And Tammy's like, but in our culture, if you have a wife who can't conceive, um, you go get another one. And listen, I know I'm trivializing it with that tone. I think for me, it's just this conversation seems very premature. And perhaps there's a part of me, I'm smelling once again, smelling an after smell, an aftertaste of production in the bag, mixing mutswako. Because one of the couples had to talk about, getting pregnant and children. And I suppose these are the ones maybe that they selected to sort of fast track these conversations so that we can be recording and watching and listening. But even number one, I think fully understanding where Zitobile is in the challenges with her fertility and what needs to happen and what needs to take place. Like, you guys have not even tried any of this. It's 2 months in. You're still getting to know a person. So to now be having conversations of getting a second wife if she can't fall pregnant, y'all have not really even been trying. And Tammy, based on the fact that when Uzi Tobile, na e batla ko koloing, na e batla ko kitchen, na e batla ko shower, war no. When is it supposed to actually be happening? Also, question mark. And whatever the things that you took from men's health fertility clinic, when are those kicking in? You know what I mean? Like, so for me, this conversation is very premature, and I think I'm not a fan of you having it outside of Zitobile's presence because it actually is a very sensitive topic and issue for most women. And so when you're talking about changing her out with a newer, more fertile model 2 months in, I feel a kind of way about that. I'm not going to lie. Even for TV, some things that we are just doing for TV are not super comfortable here. Zutobile is sitting with her mother talking about decisions. And Zutobile is like, listen, I'm feeling a lot of pressure because I know you, as my mother, have a very good relationship with Tammy and you love him. And that's weighing heavily on what kind of decision I'm going to make. And thank you, mommy. We love Zitobile's mother who came in and she was like, listen here, Wanaka, like, this is your decision. Take me out of the equation completely. This is about you. You can't be making decisions that you're going to regret based on how I'm going to feel. It's not about me, it's about you and it's about Tammy and what's going to be happening. And then her mother then makes a comment, which I think is probably very relevant, and the mom knows her quite well, and she's talking about how Zitobile lets fear rule her life. There are a lot of things, decisions that she takes or doesn't take because of fear. She's even like, even when you're baking, you'll put something in the oven and you're always so worried, is it going to come out, and you're so scared the whole time. And so she's like, if you're always scared, if you're always doubting yourself and allowing fear to be at the forefront, you're never really going to get married and commit, essentially. So for me, it didn't seem like she was making that statement about this decision with Utami specifically and saying, go in and go ahead and throw caution to the wind. But I think she was making a commentary about, her daughter's life in general, is that you can't allow fear to hold you back from doing things. And if you're even doing them physically, but your heart is not in it because you're still holding back from fear, you're actually never going to do the things that you say you do and be present in them. So I felt like that was some really good advice. Um, and the mom said, I'm not forcing you to do anything, but fear can't be making the decision. And it's Tobile cries because the pressure of it all. But, her mom gave her some good, wise words. And then we see Kumo with her friend. And, Kumo's telling the friend, Horo, I mentioned I was married at first sight. Now it's decision time. And Fred, you've got to love Kumo's friend, because even the friend was like, listen, Kumo, we know how stubborn you are, girlfriend. Ooh. Yo. There we go. Kumo's friend was like, Kumo girl, we know how stubborn you are. Like, I'm sure when I had to over you, over you by this point. Um, and Kumo didn't deny that, which means she's very much aware of her ways of being. She knows. She's aware. She knows. I think she knows that she's closed off. She knows that she's stubborn. She knows that she won't do anything that she doesn't want to do, essentially. And so, in my mind, it's just the question of, how did you think that was going to aid you or hurt you in a marriage, that type of way of being? I'm not sure. But Kumo says she's conflicted about what decision to make, although I think she actually is going to go ahead with being married to Tabang. But she does speak about the miscommunication, and that is a big issue for them, is that they can't get the communication together. Um, and we'll see how it goes. Then last scene, we see Tabang is with his friend, also contemplating making the decision. And he asks his friend, do you think I'm going to stay in the relationship? Friend was like, no, full stop. No, didn't hesitate, didn't breathe. I don't know, same time, it's not going to work. And the friend tells us that, even Makuma has issues with the friend and his girlfriend, and how close they are, and that they've established a very close relationship with Tabang as the three of them. And so Makuma has some issues with that. I don't know if it's specific to the friend's girlfriend or if it includes the friend as well. But honale, some relationships adjustment, there's not adjusting over there. So friend was like, nah, bruh, I don't see it lasting. And Tabang says that, yeah, Makumo is very stubborn. And there have been instances of her complaining to him about him talking to women, or receiving all of these phone calls from women. And so he doesn't know how things are going to last. This is what I'm going to say about Tabang and Makumo. Readiness and preparation is important. And I think that is something that doesn't get spoken about enough, and that as a society we don't think is important. This is where we really need the patriarchy to fall, because it disadvantages men and women. Where the girls, little girls are being prepared from a young age and being told that no, being a wife and a mother and a homemaker is like the only value that you're gonna have. You could go out and like be an aeronautical engineer, baby. You could be in space. You could be out here winning Nobel Prizes for breakthroughs in science, in literature. None of that matters in society more than you having a partner and birthing some children. All of that. Wonderful, good, good, great. But why are you walking around alone? Where's your partner? So, in women, I think it has been inculcated from a very young age that your value, role, and purpose is to be somebody's wife and then be a homemaker. Men, none of that. No preparation. So it's two extremes of the same coin where it's actually not working to be instilling that type of messaging into little girls because here we are and like happily ever after was a lie. Where's the Disney movie? And then you also look at the guys, Abu Tabang, who are also not preparing themselves at all to be a husband. Like are people actually asking themselves those questions? What is my vision as a man? What is my vision of a husband? What is the husband I'm trying to become? What does that look like? And then assessing how far am I currently from that vision? And then what are the steps that I actively need to be taking? What are the changes that I need to actively be making to grow into that person? Because I think, unfortunately, I think this is the thing that we won't really speak about, particularly with men, but that I think there are men who, for them, they also feel the pressure to get married at some point. But obviously, we're not going to talk about it. They won't. But you can see, come on, at 32, 33, people start playing musical chairs and just get married to like the closest woman or just the one who's there. Because you look at some people's marriages and you're like, what's going on? But I think it is that there's no preparation. There's no reflection and real thinking and intentionality about why we want to get married. And so, yes, that's a broader topic, and this was a TV show, and we don't know what people's motives were for coming on this TV show. Was it to be pushing our brands? Was it to be getting free promotion and press? Was it to become a superstar? Was it to become a reality TV star in South Africa? We don't know what people's motives were here. Was it really to find love? Was it really to give it a try? I don't know. But I think what is evident for me with Makuma and Tabang is that neither of them have really, I think, given any thought to what it means to be a husband and a wife for them individually, their own definition. And I don't think they have any awareness of where they then are on that measuring stick of this is who I want to be and this is who I am and these are the steps that I need to take to get there. That's just me. Anyway, short review this week. It was a bit of a boring episode. It was a fella fluffy episode. It is the final episode next week. Or not next week, well, like now, because I'm recording this today. But I haven't watched it yet, so I'm going to watch the final episode and I'm going to post it. Well done and thank you if you made it to the end of this video. Rakadi loves you. Thank you guys, and please don't forget to share, to comment, and to like and subscribe. I see some people have been commenting, most of them kind, and they are welcome. Others are just attention seeking and like, I'm not going to give it to you because what we are here for more than anything else is to spread love and not hate. Take care. Ciao.